Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 177th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. The team I'm in today consists of Brotherhood member Gladius, who has bought the Carthage faction. And then we have Brotherhood member Legion 22, who has bought the Rome Brutii faction. And then myself, Spartan Commander, who has bought the Rome Julii faction. So there's our team there. Lots of experience, but you wait till you see the other team. This has got the ingredients to be a great game. At this stage of the battle, I thought we'd have a look at Brotherhood member Gladius' Carthage army. I don't think Gladius brings Carthage that often, so it'll be interesting to have a look at his army. As you can see, he's got Sacred Band units. I think he's got 16 units of the Sacred Band units. That's their elite pike infantry. And if you notice the formation that he's done, he's kind of got his one main army and two mini armies there, which is quite an interesting formation there. If you look at the upgrades, just like to draw your attention to the upgrades to these particular units in his main army. Can you see they've got 9 banners on them? So they are maxed. Those units there in that main battle line are maxed, got the maximum upgrades on them. So I think that Carthage army looks pretty tough to me. There's that infantry. And then he's unusually bought light cavalry. Can you see he's bought the long shield cavalry there? Now these guys move fast. They're pretty tough, but you don't often see them brought to the 31k battlefield. So it should be interesting to see how these fast moving light cavalry do against the opposition we are fighting today. All in all, I think that's a pretty interesting Carthage army. Should be a great one for you to see. At this stage of the battle, I thought we'd have a look at this army that I've bought for this particular battle. If you notice, most of the time I bring 6 cavalry in my my Roman armies, but in this particular battle I've only bought 5 cavalry and 15 infantry. But I think when you see the factions that the other team have bought, you'll see why I've actually bought more infantry than cavalry in this particular battle. As I say, I don't bring this army very often, but I think you'll see why a bit later. And here is the other team. We have Greek's clansman Nicanor, and you can see he's bought the Greek cities faction here. As you know, the Greeks' plan on RTW was to be the best clan with a pike faction, and the veterans watching this will know that they practiced for hours and hours and hours until I think most people would agree they did become the best clan on RTW with the pike factions. And when you see a Greek's clansman with Greek cities, and you look at those Spartans with their 2 hit points and their fantastic specifications, you know you're in for a real challenge. Nicanor is a newer member of the Greeks clan there, but unless anything's changed, I believe that they get intense pike training right from when they first join the Greeks clan. So as I say, when you see a Greeks clansman with a Greek cities army, you always know you're in for a challenge there. Looks to me like he's got maybe 14 Spartan units there, and he's gone for the cheaper archers. So obviously he's gone for the cheaper archers so he can put a little bit more upgrade on those Spartans. So that's going to be a real challenge there. And then we move on to their next teammate, who is Heaven's KODA. A lot of you know Heaven's KODA, another experienced RTW player there, with a really nice Macedon army. As you can see there, I think he's got something like about 12 pikes. And then he's got 1 Cretan archer unit from what I can see. Then he's got 6 companion cavalry. As a lot of you will know, companion cavalry, or the winged horsemen, as they're sometimes called because of the kind of wings on their helmets there, can be battle changing cavalry, really tough. So that's a really good Macedon army there. And as I say, with KODA in charge of it, that should be very interesting there. And then the last teammate is BUBU. A lot of you know that BUBU mostly plays with pike factions these days and has kind of become a bit of a specialist with them. I think his favourite pike faction is Macedon, but I noticed in this game he's bought SELEUCID, and he looks like a pretty solid army to me there with his Seleucid pikemen. And then we move to the cataphract cavalry. We call them the tanks of the ancient world. If you look at how well armoured these guys are, the horses as well, from head to toe almost in armour there. These guys are battle changing and battle winning cavalry, if used correctly, and they're very difficult to kill. and the impact of their cavalry hit, as I said, can be battle changing. Then we move to their chariot units. He's brought one chariot unit here. Just like to draw your attention to the spikes, the scythes, if you like, on the wheels. Plus, if you notice, the horses have got spikes on them as well, to do even more damage to enemy infantry as the chariot runs through them. Remember though that chariots can run amok, and if they run amok they can be a menace to both friend and foe alike. So it's always kind of a gamble if you bring a chariot unit or chariot units to the battle, that those particular chariot units will run amok. Okay, so that's the enemy team there. Make no mistake, this is a formidable enemy team with a really great armies and really great formations. I think this is going to be a real challenge for the Brotherhood team. And I think with the ingredients of all these great armies and the players in it, this should be a classic game for you to watch. At this very early stage of the battle, you might remember that Brotherhood member Gladius was on our right flank and I was on the left flank. Where Gladius wanted to face the Greek cities army with his Carthage army. So as you can see now, we're actually swapping positions. I'm taking my Rome Julii army over to the right flank, and Gladius is taking his Carthage army over to the left flank to face the Greek cities there. I think from Gladius's point of view, it's a tactical decision there, as he built this army, I think, specifically to take on the Greek cities army there. So as you can see there, this is a very early stage of the battle, and this is the general disposition of our armies here. Here at this very early stage of the battle here, you can see the general disposition of both armies. If you notice here, the Seleucid army is moving towards my Julii army here, and if you look closely you can see the pillars going in on them. There is a little bit of lag in this game, and that's because I think there's 4 pike factions in this battle, and 2 of the pike factions have got the big 120-man units there. So of course on Steam we sometimes do get a little bit of lag, so I hope it doesn't spoil the game too much for you. Meanwhile, in the centre here you can see that one of the front Macedon battle lines has moved forward to engage with our Brutii Roman ally there. And also you can see a Seleucid units over there as well. It's been sent in from the flank. And over here on our right flank here, if you notice, there's some cavalry, enemy cataphract tank cavalry moving out to the right. If you notice, they've moved those archers out to the right as well, with that cavalry support. So my guess is that they'll move in close and use those archers on the flank of my army, supported by those heavy cataphract cavalry there. Meanwhile, over on our left flank, if you remember, earlier on, Gladius took his Carthage army over there to actually engage with the Greek cities. And as you see, he's got his wish, and the Greek cities are attacking his Carthage army now. If you notice here, do you remember how he split his army up into 3? 2 mini armies and a main army. If you notice, he's looking to move one of his mini armies round this left flank here in a flanking action against the flank of those engaged Greek cities. But if you notice that the Greek city general has kept 3 Spartan units back in anticipation of this mini Carthage army coming round his flank. Okay, let's pause again for us to take stock of the situation. As I said, here on the left flank you can see that the enemy Greek cities army is really aggressively engaged with our allies' Carthage army there. Be interesting to see how the battle goes. I've got a feeling this left flank could be a pivotal part of the battle, and I think possibly whoever wins on this left flank could go on to win the whole battle, but we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, in the centre here you can see that our Carthage ally has sent a couple of pike units over to our to Legion 22 to help him against the long pikes of those Macedon pikemen there that they're attacking in the centre. Over on our right flank here you can see that the Seleucid faction is facing my Julii army. Not a lot going on there really, a little bit of skirmishing at the front, but if you look out to the right, can you see the 6 companion Macedon cavalry plus those heavy cataphract cavalry plus those archers on my right flank there. So my guess is that those archers will advance and start shooting into the flank of my infantry. You might notice that I've put my cavalry into non-wedge formation. This is a normal block cavalry formation, if you like here. If you notice, I've really tightened up on keeping them close together, and that's because I think that I'm probably going to have a big tussle with that cavalry over there. I want to have my cavalry in a tight little block so that hopefully they'll do the most damage in that formation there. Just have to see what happens here on the right flank. As I say, this game is a little bit laggy, and that's because there's so many pike factions in it, and it does cause a bit of lag on Steam. So, as I said earlier, I hope it doesn't spoil your viewing that much. As you can see here, our Carthage ally has brought his light long shield cavalry out here to the left flank, probably with a view to charging into the rear of any engaged enemy pikemen there. If you notice that the Macedon enemy Macedon ally in the centre has sent over some pike units to help his Greek city ally here on the left. If you notice, Legion 22 has sent 3 of his Brutii infantry out to help our ally on the left as well. Nice little bit of teamwork there by Legion 22, sending those units over to help. Right, can you see that light long shield cavalry charging into the back of that Macedon pike unit there, and bang as that cavalry hits. Macedon pikemen have not got great morale, so I would think it would rout there. Yep, and as you can see, that pike unit is routed with those light cavalry charging into the rear of them. So I say that light cavalry moves very fast and is quite strong really for light cavalry. But as I say, looking at this left flank, that Greek city's army looks extremely strong, especially backed up by Macedon allies there, sending those Macedon pikemen over there. So as I say, this left flank feels to me like it could be a pivotal part of the battle, and it'd just be interesting to see what happens there. There's a general disposition of the battlefield, so you can see exactly what's going on. If you notice, there's some Macedon heavy cavalry moving out to the left flank, probably with a view, if it can, to engage that Carthage light cavalry. Now Gladius might feel that because he's got 4 cavalry against 3, he may attack, which he's going to do. And bang as that cavalry goes in. But remember that Macedon companion cavalry is heavy cavalry, really good grade cavalry there with good upgrades. And I'm not sure if that long shield light cavalry would do any good against that heavy cavalry. Meanwhile, back on the left here, can you see that the Greek cities, to me, seems, with its backed up by its Macedon ally there, seems to be getting the better of our left flank. As I say before, nice support there by Brotherhood member Legion 22, who sent over some infantry support there. But if you look at the general position there, it looks pretty bad. Right, can you see where that Macedon cavalry was fighting that light cavalry, Carthage cavalry there? The heavy companion cavalry has won that tussle on the left flank. So they're now, if we're not careful, they can get in behind our engaged Carthage infantry. Right, let's just pause the game for us to take stock of the situation. As I say there, our Carthage ally is engaged with that Macedon cavalry in behind him. That could be a problem there on our left flank. As you can see, Legion 22's charges infantry support units in to help on that left flank. In the centre here, it's kind of mainly just a containing action, I think, going on there, as a Macedon faction doesn't seem to be being too aggressive. Can you see where these archers have been killed? Now, if you notice, these archers, I think, are in close order. And if you leave your archers in close order, that's the damage that you can get. Do you notice that the enemy have got their archers in open order, so they're going to suffer less casualties? Over here on the right flank, if you notice, there's a little bit of skirmishing at the front, but not a lot really going on. Except that enemy cavalry out to the right. If you notice, they've moved their archers forward there, probably with a view to target my cavalry, to try and drive my cavalry back. Probably with a tactical view of try and drive my cavalry back so they can charge their cavalry into the flank of my infantry before I can get there. That's probably what the tactic is. Right, there's a general overview of the battlefield. It should be interesting to see what happens next. As I say, I'm a little bit worried about this left flank of ours. Not looking that secure, I don't think, at the moment. As I said here, new players watching this, see how Legion 22 sent 3 infantry units over to help our ally there. Remember, team battles are all about teamwork. Right, can you see this heavy Macedon cavalry going into the back of our Carthage ally, and bang as that hits. Right, almost straight away can you see that our Carthage allies' battle damage units have routed. So let's just pause the game for a sec. Right, so after a really fierce battle on our left, can you see that our Carthage ally now has basically been routed. But very importantly, our left flank has not broken because Legion sent 3 infantry units over there to help hold. So even though our Carthage ally has now, after a great battle, has been routed, our left flank has not folded. So this could be a very, very crucial part of the battlefield here. If we can hold this left flank and stop the enemy coming round behind us and attacking us from the flank, that could be extremely important for us there. As I say, you can see the Macedon units here moving forward into Legion 22's Brutii infantry there. Meanwhile, over on our right, as I say, just a bit of skirmish at the front, as it has been. Not a lot going on there so far. But as we've seen in other battle videos, quiet positions can all of a sudden become hot spots. Right, if you notice also behind our engaged troops, can you see that there's that enemy scythed chariot unit there? I notice he's finishing off routing Carthage troops there just to make sure they won't rally and come back. So there's a general disposition of the battle. And as I say, I thought this left flank would be pivotal, and looking at this left flank, it looks like we could be in a bit of trouble. I don't know how long Legion 22's infantry is going to hold on that left, bearing in mind it's up against Greek cities, Macedon cavalry and Macedon pike units too. So I think this could be a real problem here. And I think at this particular time the battle is looking really bad for the Brotherhood team, as I'm sure you would agree here. Right, you see this Macedon heavy cavalry charging into the flank of our Brutii ally there, and bang as that cavalry hits. That was a heck of a hit there by that enemy cavalry. I was really surprised that none of the Brutii infantry routed. Meanwhile, over on our right flank here, can you see the Seleucid tank cavalry charging into the flank of my infantry? But if you notice, I've charged my infantry into them as well, so my infantry get a charge bonus as well as the cavalry get a charge bonus, so I'm hoping that that will neutralise the cavalry's charge bonus there. If you notice, I'm now charging my cavalry over in that block close formation. As I said, I was anticipating taking on a cavalry there. That's why I put them in that type of formation instead of wedge. Wedge formation you tend to use for attacking mainly infantry, because that wedge formation really penetrates. But when facing cavalry, I tend to use that block there. Right, just pause again for us to take stock of the situation. As you can see, a lot of that Seleucid cavalry now has routed, but my guess is that will rally and come back. You can see that the Seleucid pikes are pretty well intact. There's a few of their units routed, but mainly, can you see, I think we've routed their Seleucid general. Right, as we come into the centre here, you can see that the Macedon pikes there are basically holding our Brutii ally there. It's a bit of a stalemate there in the centre, but over on the left, can you see here that we've got Greek cities and Macedon pikemen. But maybe importantly, over on the left, can you see that Legion's cavalry there has scored a bit of a win against the Macedon cavalry that was over there. So those Macedon cavalry units that were threatening the rear of our engaged troops have mostly been routed there by our allies' Brutii cavalry. So there's a general overview of the situation so far. As you see, the Seleucid general looks like he's just been killed. So as you know, Seleucid morale is not very good. So with their general killed, their morale would drop even more, which is good for us. As you can see here, I'll move my infantry round the right flank now, with a view to going into the flank or the rear of those Seleucid pikemen. All the time though, I'm watching those Seleucid cataphract tank cavalry who have rallied. Remember, we routed them, but they've rallied and they've come back. If you notice, my Julii cavalry chasing off some more Macedon cavalry on the right flank there, not allowing them to come into the rear or to interfere with the battle at all. Right, once again the Seleucid cavalry is coming in, but I think I'm going to charge my infantry into that cavalry. Once again, taking the sting out their charge bonus. Remember, when you charge infantry in, they get a charge bonus too. So if you charge your infantry into charging cavalry, you kind of neutralise both charge bonuses are kind of neutralised there. So if you notice that the Seleucid cavalry, most of those units were just routed there. Meanwhile, over on our left flank, you can see that the Greek cities and some Macedon units there are kind of making a bit of a defensive formation. And if you notice that Legion 22 is not allowing them to rest, let's just pause the game for a second. If you notice that Legion 22 is being aggressive with his infantry, charging in all the time, not allowing them to settle, trying to disrupt that defensive formation that they're trying to make there. Nice aggressive move there by Legion 22 with his Brutii infantry. As you can see there, the pike's trying to make that defensive formation. Right, as you can see, I'm bringing my Julii army over now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some infantry in to engage those pikes and then take infantry in behind them. That's be what I'm thinking about doing there. So there's a general disposition of the battle. Be interested to see exactly what happens here. If you look at the top of the picture, you can see the Macedon cavalry returning. If you notice that, as I say, I'm taking my my Julii infantry over. Right, can you see now that I'm charging my cavalry into that pike formation? Now, the reason I'm doing that is because those Macedon pikes, a lot of those Macedon pike units are badly damaged and their morale's not that good, and I'm hoping that the shock of this cavalry hit might rout several of those pike units. New players watching this, remember, normally you do not charge cavalry into set pikes. The only reason I'm doing this is because I explained I'm thinking that a lot of their units are going to be tired and the shock of that cavalry hit might rout a lot of the units there. Right, can you see we saw that Macedon cavalry return into the fray, charging into my infantry there. And as you can see, Legion 22 has brought his cavalry over there to help my infantry. And if you notice, those last two Seleucid pike units that were there have now both been taken out. But if you notice, that Macedon cavalry is still roaming the battlefield there. And now what I must do is take my infantry over to where my Brutii ally Legion 22 is fighting all those pikes. Let's say that's a pretty nice defensive pike formation there. And as you can see, I'm taking my my Julii infantry and cavalry over there as well now.
We're under attack.
Right, if you notice, this Macedon cavalry is trying to charge into the back of our Brutii ally there as they're engaged. But if you notice, I'm taking my cavalry over there to try and take the sting out of that Macedon cavalry hit. But unfortunately, that Macedon cavalry is charged into the back of our Brutii ally. Luckily, he only routed one of our allies' units there, but that could have been a lot worse. I'm glad I spotted it with my cavalry just to try and take the sting out of that big cavalry hit there. If you notice, that chariot's running amok, I don't really want to get anywhere near that, as it will kill both friend and foe alike. Okay, I'm just going to pause the game here just to show you a general disposition of the battlefield, then ask you a tactical question. Okay, so let's have a look at the battlefield here. As you can see, there's that dangerous Macedon cavalry off to the left there. And there's that chariot running amok. If you notice, its banners flashing red on and off. That's always a sign that that the chariot has run amok. But let's say this dangerous Macedon cavalry here at this stage of the battle with our tired troops and damaged battle units, if that gets in behind our engaged infantry, that could turn the battle. So we must be very careful of that. Meanwhile, back here, can you see that our Brutii and Julii allies' armies here are attacking the Greek cities and Macedon pike units. Okay, so there's a general disposition of the battlefield. As you can see, Legion 22's Brutii cavalry is out at the rear. So, if you were in charge of this Julii cavalry here, where would you use them next? Where do you think the best place to take them would be? Do you think you'd charge them into that Macedon cavalry there to stop them getting in behind our engaged infantry? Do you think that would be the best tactical move? Would you take them over there and take out those archers at the back to stop them fire arrows into us and lowering our morale? But if you were in charge of that cavalry, and where would you take? Would you take them back here maybe with a view to charge in? What do you think you would do with that cavalry if you were in charge of it? Right, well, let's see, maybe go for that Macedon. I'm a bit worried about that Macedon cavalry getting in behind our engaged troops, so maybe that might be the target that I might go for with my cavalry. Do you think that would be the best strategic move there? Let's see what happens. Right, well, what I've noticed is the Greek cities' backs are facing me, so if you notice now, I'm going to charge my cavalry in through some of that Macedon pike units that just moved forward there and charge into the back. And can you see, I might have only got a couple of cavalry units through there, but the shock of that cavalry going into the back of that infantry has made them rout. If you notice that Legion 22's cavalry is coming right through as well now, so we've got kind of a joint hit on that those enemy units that were there. Nice combination hit there by Legion and and my cavalry there. I think that was the last of the enemy units there. Just looking at the battlefield here, if you remember over on the right where my Julii army was facing the Seleucid army there, as you can see there's quite a few dead there on that right flank. So there was a little bit of a battle there, and then in the centre, if you notice, not a lot of dead. But over on the left flank, you can see there's absolutely piles of dead here. As I say, it's earlier in the battle that this was the pivotal. I thought it was a pivotal part of the battle, this left flank. So, and when I saw our Carthage ally after a fantastic battle get routed, I thought that was going to be it then. Right, here's a close-up of troops celebrating. New players watching this, can you see? They're actually celebrating the end of the battle there and their victory. You might not see that if you don't zoom in after a battle there, but yeah, that was the troops celebrating their victory there.
Our soldiers have gained victory.
Let's see. I think Legion's cavalry is just finishing off the last of the enemy archers there, and there's that chariot unit still running amok. Right, first thing I'd like to say is really well played to both teams there. I thought the other team played extremely well. It's always difficult fighting pikes, so really well done to the other team. And I'd just like to say, if you notice that two players have got over 2,000 kills, well, the reason we've got that many kills is because the Macedon and the Seleucid factions have got 120-man units. So obviously to get that many kills in a 3v3 is because they've got the big units. That's why we've got those big kills. I thought Gladius played very well on the left flank there, holding the Greek cities as long as he did. So well done to him, and as I said, really well played to the other team. I thought Nicanor with his Greek cities faction did really well there on that left flank. Just thought I'd show you the kills here. Just interesting. You see the urban cohorts have got, if you look down the list, you'll see the urban cohorts have got a lot of good kills here. But as I say, it is facing 120-man units there. So the numbers look good, but it's just because we're facing such big infantry units there. You see, I see one urban unit's killed 131. That's quite a good kill for them there. So as I said, really well played to everybody in the game. Let's say facing three pike armies is always a challenge, and especially when you've got three pike armies with really experienced generals, really good armies and really good formations. That was a real challenge for the Brotherhood team there. And I hope viewers watching this, I hope you enjoyed this battle. I thought it was unusual against three pikes there. Spartan Commander saying bye for now.